Hi, welcome to the Jiu-Jitsu Oracle. I am here with ADCC European Trials over 99 kilo division champion, Mark Macqueen.
How are we doing? How's things?
I'm good. How does it feel hearing that? You tired of it yet?
No, definitely not. It's weird. It's like, I don't know. I definitely thought going into the competition, I was like, I definitely think I can win this. Based off of everyone that was going, I was like, I definitely think I can beat everyone here. I definitely think I can win. But then, once it's actually happened, you're like, yeah, it's hard to take in. I don't know. Like, going into it, I felt like I knew I could win, but then since it's happened, I'm almost more in disbelief. It's weird, but it feels good. Feels great.
Good. So, just for anyone who's not aware or is tuning in for the first time, the Jiu-Jitsu Oracle is a podcast that I, Ross McTavish, coach at SBG Aberdeen, do with my teammate, Callum Burke. And we've been reviewing and previewing all the big shows in Jiu-Jitsu since the start of the year. So get into our back catalogue, see what we've done, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is our first interview. What an interview guest to have on. Mark's just fresh off the ADCC Trials. And he's still in Croatia where the trials took place on Saturday. So Mark, what happened there?
Yeah, so me and my girlfriend were meant to be flying home and there was a strike on our airline and we basically got put onto a flight on Wednesday and that was it. They were just like, you're flying to Wednesday on Wednesday and that was it, see you later. So we had to get some emergency accommodation and we're still here. But my girlfriend said there's two, but it was like, thank God we won because you can almost take it on the chin, like, okay, it doesn't matter. But like, if we hadn't have won and that happened, it would have, been a different story.
You'd have been stewing.
Oh, fuming. Absolutely fuming.
So you've not got any training in since the competition. It's very much unlike you.
No, I know. To be fair, leading into the competition, like, with how much I've been training, I was like, after the competition, I need a few days off because like for the last month leading into the competition, I genuinely felt almost brain dead majority of the day. I was like, I actually felt like I just couldn't even think. I was so exhausted. So a few days off is actually pretty welcome.
A source tells me you might have declared yourself as the world's sorest man on the day after the competition.
Yeah. Honestly, so I didn't sleep a single at all on the Saturday night. Like didn't go out and do anything, but like just like was in my bed with my girlfriend and like just couldn't sleep. I was just so like wired. And then on Sunday morning, genuinely, I think I was the sorest man that's ever existed. I don't think anyone has ever been as sore as that.
So let's talk about the tournament first and how it played out.
Yep.
So you had a bye in the first round, the round of 16.
Yep.
And then your first match was against Jonas Maxson. I'm going to have a go at the pronunciation. Do you remember much about that match, Mark?
Yeah. So going into that, so I knew who he was. He had a match with Dan from New Wave in the last trials, and lost by points to Dan, but there's obviously no shame in that at all. And looked really, really good. He's enormous. I'm like 6'2.5", 6'3", and weighed in at like 125 kilos, and he like stood like a good 2-3 inches taller than me and was like quite a bit, bigger, I would say. He was enormous, but I also knew that he was actually really good at jiu-jitsu. Like, he pulls guards, leg locks. So I knew that was going to be a really tough match. But the good news is going into that, since the last trials, I've been like working on, leg locks has been like the absolute priority for like, the last 5 months since trials. So I felt confident going into it. And that was good. I was, I got a takedown early on, and then I passed his guard. I passed his guard the first half, so there was no points. And then the kind of last half was mostly him turtling and me trying to, I was kind of hesitant to try and take his back because I felt like he was definitely trying to enter legs from back take, so I was more trying to break him down from it. And then I went to overtime, and then I got another takedown in overtime, passed his guard, and then he managed to get back to his feet. And then I think the last minute and a half, I think I snapped him down. I think through I don't know if the flow chaplain saw it, but like I snapped him down, and he went like flying off the mat and like through like the announcer's table and stuff like that. And then, the last minute was pretty sloppy. Because I was like, well, I'm 3 up and I'm winning pretty convincingly here. So in my head, I was just like, you're the one that needs to push. It's pressure's on you. So I just kind of let him make a few mistakes, and he got a couple of negatives. So he was very, very good. He is, for someone like, he's obviously with someone that size, to like be that good at jiu-jitsu shows like, very, very intelligent with his training and what he's doing.
And you said a lot of your prep going into this trials was focused on the leg locks.
Yeah, so I feel like, so obviously after the last trials, obviously like I had my ankle or leg or both broken. And to be honest, I couldn't really do very, very much for the first 8 weeks since trials. I really couldn't do very much. So I couldn't wrestle really at all. Couldn't do very much. So I pretty much just sat in leg entanglements on my good leg. Just kind of worked on that. And to be honest, was even limited there because I couldn't really even get to my feet. So, I was doing what I could, my best. And then, just every single day, just been sitting in, different leg entanglements, from, all the way to like, end stage where like, maybe they've got the heel or, like double trouble from the saddle or, lost different leg entanglements. So that has been a big goal. And then it got to maybe the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks leading into trials. I was like, right, I'm feeling good about that. Made a lot of improvements. I'm going to definitely keep doing this, but I think the next 4 to 5 weeks, I now need to kind of prioritize because I'm not wanting to go to sit in leg entanglements. So like, I need to kind of make sure that what I want to do is up to scratch too. So it was, probably the biggest factor going into it because, I knew he was a leg locker, and then obviously like Oscar Spells was there. He's a leg locker. I knew Freddy is, and then also even like Jet Hugh. So I was really pleased that I kind of made that investment. And obviously, I'm not now like, oh, I'm good at legs now. I'm further need to do anything. Like, it's still going to be a huge priority moving forwards. But definitely the last 5 months, like that's been my biggest investment in the gym so far.
Yeah, you mentioned Oscar Spells there. So he managed to beat you at the last trials with a leg lock. I thought you two might have been on a collision course to meet.
Me too. But I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting to have him in my second match personally.
Yeah, but you didn't.
No.
And you had Francis Pinotti Pana, I think, a Frenchman.
Franco Pana, yeah.
Franco Pana, right? He's a big lad.
I knew stylistically, I thought he was going to be most difficult for me. He's enormous. Very, very sweaty, very slippy. Doesn't wear rash guards, so very slippy. And is quite clever with his wrestling. He one thing that I think he does very well is he takes shots that aren't shots, but it makes him look like he's busy and active. So like he'll like kind of fake a double leg to make it look like he's busy and active. But he's not committed enough to take you down. And he's not committed enough for you to even sprawl on him, because he doesn't really lower his level enough. So you've basically got to block it and then circle and go back. So he's very, very tricky that way. Because going into that match, I was like, majority of my wrestling is upper body and it's like from underhooks and stuff. But like after 60, 90, 120 seconds, I found like there's so sweaty, so slippy, there was no grips. So I knew stylistically he was going to be very, very hard, and I knew that what I was worried about was he is very good at making himself look active, but without actually really committing a shot. Earlier on in the match, I made a mistake, and then I tried to go for a throw. He got to turtle, but I was pretty quickly able to like kind of grab me out, and then kind of there's me scramble and get out. And yeah, one thing I was a little bit confused about for the match was he must have went out of bounds about, honestly, I mean, I lost count how many times, and it was quite difficult because there was such little commitment, and he's just going backwards. It's very hard to actually wrestle and take someone down. It's just going backwards and going out of bounds, and just constantly getting pushed out of bounds and out of bounds. And it got to a point where the referee had 2 words with him. Was like, you keep going out of bounds, we're going to give you like, you know, a negative or warnings and stuff. They never came, but you know, it was definitely, you know, pretty, in my opinion, a pretty rubbish match. You know, I didn't. Look, it's definitely something I would enjoy watching back. It's a pretty rubbish match, but I think one thing I knew going into this is, like, at the end of the day, you know, I just need to win this. I need to win this match, and I'm not here to, you know, look exciting or, you know, have crazy matches. I'm here to first and foremost win. If I can have great matches, that's great. But like with someone like him, he's very tricky, very difficult. I'm like, I just need to beat this guy and get the win. And just, you know, I remember, you know, I know we spoke about this before. I remember listening to like Owen Livesey on his podcast, and one thing that he said that was great is, you know, sometimes you just need to pull a win out of your arse. You just need to pull a win out of somewhere. And I felt I did that. So yeah, not happy in terms of the quality of grappling done in the match, but definitely happy that I could get the win.
I saw you appeal to the desk a couple of times that, you know, your opponent kept going out of bounds, and there was no penalty point appearing, even though the ref did have a couple of words. As it got later in the match, I thought it was your ability to come forward that really turned it in your favour. You know, because earlier in the match, like you said, he managed to sort of make you 4 point and then have to wrestle back to your feet, strip the grips, and then wrestle again from there. So, you know, the judges would have considered that action early on when they're getting to their final decision. But I thought the last part of the match, which I think is weighted quite heavily in ADCC as to like who's pushing the action near the end. There's a lot of you forward and forcing them out of bounds. And I just want to take a moment to, I thought it was your cardio that came through. I just want to take a moment to talk about your cardio, because I know you do a lot of work on it, especially on the rower. So can you enlighten people to some of what you do for that?
Yeah, so I definitely think 100% it was the cardio that won me that, because I feel like as every minute went on, I felt like he was getting weaker and weaker, and I felt as well mentally, I felt like he was dwindling. You know, at one point, I don't know if you can see in the camera, that he like slapped himself in the face and screamed in my face. Full. It was very weird, very, very weird. And when he did it, I was like, yeah, you're gone. Because, like, you know, you have to like will something out of yourself here. I'm like, you're fucking gone. It's like you're been out of bounds about 40 times, and you're now like screaming in my face. I don't know if it was like to try and intimidate me or something like that. Yeah, but like, I think cardio wise, I'm a huge proponent of that, and I think it's, you know, it's so crucial, because it's like fatigue will, you know, fatigue makes cowards out of everybody, and I feel like, you know, like, especially our weight class and being our size, you know, I think like just grappling alone probably isn't enough for your cardio. So me personally, right now I'm doing 2 days solely, you know, dedicated to two cardio sessions solely dedicated to that. So I do 10 by 500 meters on the rowing machine. So basically, on all concept 2s, it's like a built-in interval. So you basically row 500 meters, and then you have a minute break, do that 10 times. And then the other one I do is 7 miles for time on the assault bike. So basically, again, that's like an inbuilt interval. And it's basically just 7 miles, and you're just doing it for as quickly as you can. And that's the 2 main sources of cardio I'm doing right now. Another one that I have done is 30 minutes continuous. So basically just 30 minutes continuous on the rowing machine. So that's the kind of 3 main things that I do. But right now I'm doing the 10 by 500 meters on the rowing machine and the assault bike 7 miles of time. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think in the kind of the first 6 minutes, I mean, he capitalised on my mistake and had the most, you know, dominant position for sure. But I do think what kind of tipped it and what ruined it for him was he just kept backing up and going out of bounds and back up and going out of bounds, and I just kept pressing forwards. And I think the one thing that got it for me was like literally with like, I think it was like 15 seconds to go, I managed to like elbow post and get to like a body lock, and like we ran out of bounds, and we like hit like the announcer's table. so they separated it. So I didn't get the takedown from it, but I feel like that's what probably kind of tipped it towards me. But it was a close match, and I do think it could have went either way.
You mentioned the cardio work you do. Just for anyone looking on, Mark runs his own strength, conditioning, coaching, online business. Obviously, you've got a background in powerlifting, which a lot of people know about now, that you managed to win the Worlds at powerlifting. Quite a few guys at SBG Aberdeen work with you on their... how do you feel about it being called like strength and conditioning? I know some people like prefer other terms for what they do, but online coaching, shall we say?
Yeah, so I mean, it's like online coaching for people lifting and strength and conditioning. Yeah, I don't mind the term strength conditioning. I've been called much worse. So
there we go. But anyone looking on who wants to work with Mark, give him a shout. I know you're also working with Ben Bennett.
Yes.
Who did very well at the trials, got second place at under 88.
Yeah, Ben's matches were ridiculous. He had 7 matches total, and it's obviously so 6 matches, and then he had the final. And of his 6 matches, I don't think any of them went longer than a couple of minutes. And I think in the semi-finals or the quarter-finals, he had a global platter. And to be doing that at that level is, you don't see that really, do you? It's ridiculous.
So anyone looking on, interested in strength conditioning, thoroughly recommend Mark. Also, worth just dropping that you're a Scrambled sponsored athlete, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll get that in now. Keep them happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that match, I was watching the stream, and then I could hear your name being called to come to the mat for your next match. And I thought,
I know.
My goodness, this is very quick. Like, you'd only had like 5 minutes rest. So can you just tell us what was happening there?
Yeah, so very weird. So basically, I had my first match, which went 9 minutes. And then I had an hour's break. And then I had my match with Franco Pana, which went 9 minutes. And then Jean Maltese, who I had a match with for the TKC Total Combat Championship title, heavyweight title, a year ago. So I had it with him, and he is world class. He's amazing. So he went on, and he subbed this guy in like 30 seconds. And then they basically called us to the match. So I had like 5 minutes or 6 minute break. So I was obviously had 9 minutes with Franco Pana, and it was exhausted and like, just drenched. And he was really fresh, but he was fresh because he subbed his guy. So fair play, like that. That's not his problem. And then we went on, and only had 6 minute break. And so that was, and again, like, based off what he said earlier, like, I was like kissing every lucky start I had. I've invested so much time in my cardio because, again, I think, I think to go 9 minutes with a 5 minute break and then 9 minutes again with, these caliber people, because like Franco Pana is like a black belt world champion. He's black belt world champion. Eugene Maltese has just recently got his black belt, but he's like, medaled in Euros and Worlds and brown belt and is phenomenal. And again, that was a hard match against him. I was exhausted, I was tired for it, but definitely like all the cardio that had been done, it saw me through.
Did someone have to come and find you, or did you just hear your name over the announcements?
I was literally sitting on the thing, mate, and one of them came up and said, "You're on in 3 minutes." So me and my girlfriend went to the hall and hid. So I hid where they were calling me, because I was trying to get like a few more minutes. And they came and found me, and they're like, "You need to go." And I'm like, "We've only had like 3 minutes." He's like, "Okay, you got 2 more minutes." And then came back and was it, "You got 50 seconds. I said, "Can you do anything for me?" And he's like, "No, if you don't go there, you will be disqualified." So I was like, "Okay, well, it was worth a try."
Yeah. So you got through that match, and then it was Freddy Vosgroene in the final. When Callum and I did our preview of the division, we highlighted you and Freddy as two we favoured to go pretty deep. How you got a long break this time?
Yeah, 2 hours
before the match.
Very long.
How's that? It's difficult, right? Getting a short break and then a very long break.
Yeah, it was like 1 hour, then a 6 minute break, and then like 2 hours or 2 hours 15 minutes. So yeah, Yeah, quite difficult, but I was very pleased for that because I felt like that 2 hour break, I was able to like really hydrate myself, get some food in, and I felt good going into the finals. So although it was a long break, I actually did quite like it.
And the match itself, I said to someone who was also watching on the stream, I was like, Mark will be good if he's on top, but he's just got to watch Freddy's deep half because Freddy's ability to sweep from there is amazing. And I think he showcased it in an earlier match. And I could see in the match, so you managed to get top position, we're working your passes, a lot of body work, lock, passing, but Freddy was trying to suck your leg in, back to half guard. And as I was watching the match, I don't know whether you felt this during it, I was like, oh, it would be a terrible shame if all Mark's good work on top was undone by a sweep where Mark hasn't scored points for a clean pass, but Freddy gets a sweep and gets 2 points to his name for being able to come up on top. So did you feel during the match as you were working your passing that like that was a game you were trying to play?
So yeah, I knew he wanted to go underneath me, but I honestly felt no threat of being swept at any point. There was a couple of times he tried to go to deep pass, but I didn't feel like there was any. I didn't feel at any point I was worried about getting swept. My plan was the minute I touched him, I was like, I know I can out-wrestle you, and I know I can take you down. And then I figured out he wants me to take him down, and I was like, well, I want to take you down. But I was like, I want to take you down and get rewarded for it.
Yeah, just for people who might not know the way the points work, first portion, first half of the match, I think the final was 8 minutes, maybe, so the first 4 minutes is not scored.
It's no score.
So then if you take him down, you get no reward for it.
Exactly. So I knew I could take him down. And then I was like, oh, there's underhooks everywhere here. And then I was like, he's giving me underhooks everywhere here. He wants me to take him down. And I was like, well, fuck you. I'm not taking you down because you want me to take it. I'm going to take you down and get rewarded for it. So there was a few times he hit a couple of shots. And Freddy's rest was really good. But his shots, he just wanted to go to the floor. So I backed up and I was like, get up. You're not just getting to pull guard. You're not getting a free guard pull. And I don't know what happened, but I felt like he pulled guard. He never got a negative for it. I wondered how he got to the ground. He took a shot and then he went to turtle and I backed off. And then he stayed in turtle for like another 2 seconds and then he pulled guard. But what the rules are, the rules are if we're both standing and an opponent turtles, if I back off, he has to get back to his feet or he gets done for. He managed to pull guard off of it. Now maybe it's me not understanding the rules. That's definitely a possibility. But he didn't get punished, and I was like, right, cool. Now I need to work my guard passing. So my thought was, I want to make him carry every ounce of my weight, and I want to give him absolutely no space, and I want to, I want to pressure pass, I want to body lock, I want to camp, and I want to just exhaust him. And then he was very, very good, very, very disciplined, very, very good. There was a couple of times I got really, really close to passing, and then he like counteracted, like going to deep half and stuff. And then he went to close, and then he put me in close guard, and I knew he was going to trying to enter my legs off close guard. So I was like, right, I just want 30 seconds, steady myself, just get my breath, steady myself. So I'm like, I need to stand up here. And then one thing that I do a lot in the gym is when people have been close guard, is when I stand up and when I break it, a lot, especially with my brother, he tries to wrestle up, and then I basically will shoot an underhook and pass off of that wrestle up, and that is literally exactly what happens.
You said you wanted him to carry your weight. Did you put on any size going into this?
Yeah, a wee bit. Not.
I thought you looked slightly bigger in a good way, but I thought you were big.
So I've basically had this issue over the past couple of years of I've like tried to get a little bit bigger because just like some of the size of some of them, and then I see the weight on the scales go up, and then I start to like kind of doubt myself and get worried that my cardio and I'm not going to be fit enough. And then I go down in weight, and then I'm like, right, my fitness feels great, but I maybe just don't feel quite heavy enough for like these guys that are like, you know, Franco Pana size. And then going into this, I was like, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just eat food, and I'm going to eat enough that I feel to fuel myself properly, recover from my sessions, and I'm just going to, you know, do my cardio, I'm going to lift my weights, and if I'm getting stronger in the gym and my cardio's getting better, I don't care what it says in the scale. So basically that's it. And then when I stepped on the scale, I was 125 kilos for this. So yeah, that's the heaviest I've ever been for grappling. So I put on about 5 kilos since the last trials. So probably about 5 kilos from the last trials, maybe a little bit less. But it wasn't not intentional, but like it wasn't like a huge goal. It was just like, I'm just going to make sure I eat enough and properly fuel myself and recover from my sessions. And yeah, it definitely was the biggest I've been in this. But with Freddy, obviously, you know, he's, I don't know if people maybe know that, or but like he is an absolute tank. Like when you see him like at the trials, like he's just like no neck, he's just like a ball of muscle, like he's a real tank. But I definitely felt I had the size and the athleticism and the strength advantage. So, and especially with being on top, I was just like, I'm going to make him carry my weight, especially if this does go to overtime. I want him to be exhausted.
So then you won the match, 3-0, you got a pass in overtime near the end. And then how many people have asked you about your celebration?
Yeah, a lot. Although very, very overwhelmingly positive. Everyone seems to love it.
There was I was watching the Flow Grappling review of the event that was on yesterday, and they were impressed with the double salute that you put to the crowd.
Did they like it?
They did like it, yeah. So just for anyone who didn't see it, Mark won, and then, you know, channeled a bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and two middle fingers went up to the crowd, and then they went away, and you went and, you know, spent some time with your girlfriend and your teammates and your coach and all that were over there. So it was very quick. But I think you've said before that you were getting noised up before the match, and it was just a response to that.
Yeah, so, well, basically, as we're both walking out, overwhelmingly everyone's shouting for Freddy. You know, my girlfriend, also a few teammates and stuff were there. And people I train with, and Marcos and stuff. But other than that, pretty much the majority of people were chanting for Freddy, or that was my perception of it anyway. And then basically, as I was walking out, there was a group of a few guys on his side of the, not his corner, it wasn't his corner, but like that area, and like one of them shouted like, "Fuck this guy, Freddy," or it was something like that. So I was just like, "Well, fuck you right back," basically.
Yeah. So then you won. Well done.
Yep.
Dream come true.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think you posted either yesterday or today that for anyone who doesn't know, you mentioned it before, you won the world's powerlifting title, and you were saying maybe this even tops that.
It genuinely does. So that is the thing. I remember it was back in 2017. I won the world championships in IPF, and you know, that was like, you know, my like lifelong dream leading into that. And I remember when I won it, I was just like, nothing's ever going to be as good as that, or nothing's going to top that, or nothing's going to mean as much as that. And then I remember, especially when I like stopped it, and I stopped competing competitively in powerlifting. I remember, I kind of almost like, you know, longed for something else, to, you know, something, you know, from a sporting sense to kind of mean that much. But honestly, I would say this does mean as much, and honestly, I would say it actually means a little bit more. And I would say this topped it. I definitely do. It definitely feels that way. And I think as well, I feel like one of the things is maybe better for leading into this is it was a much more difficult road. You know, so like my first trials, I got put out in the second round. The trials, you know, the trials last September, I had like my leg broken. You know, against Big Dan, I lost to him. So yeah, I felt like leading into there was a lot more, not adversity, that's probably not the right word, but a lot more difficulties, and I felt like it was a lot more difficult. Whereas with powerlifting, it was a bit more. Maybe I had things my way a lot more in powerlifting. If that makes sense, so maybe that's why I felt this was a little bit sweeter. Maybe it is a little bit more difficult. It's probably why, but yeah, no, it definitely feels like it topped it.
Well, perhaps is it fair to say that grappling's a sport with a sort of more difficult skill acquisition than powerlifting? So what you've had to go through to get yourself to the place where you can compete against the guys who you're now competing against is massive strides over the last 4 or 5 years now of jiu-jitsu?
So it's like I started training. It'll be like 5 years in May. I think 5 years in May.
And it was just a little hobby after you finished powerlifting.
That was
you taking over.
That was genuinely. I remember because me and my friends laughed at that because I remember I literally said to them, I was like, yeah, like, this is never going to be like powerlifting. I'm not going to allow it to come like powerlifting. It's just a wee hobby, something to do. Don't even know if I'm going to like it. Blah blah blah. And now it's the demands of it are so much more with powerlifting. Because with powerlifting, honestly, just trained like 4 times a week. That you didn't really need to do. And now I do that in like a day. So yeah, the demands are far, far higher.
And now you're off to Vegas for the finals in August.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty mad. That's
another hurdle for you though, which I'm sure you'll embrace in your usual way.
Yes, no, it'll be awesome. But that is the thing. Like, it is important to realize, especially with myself. Like, my goal's not just to be like, oh, I compete the ADCC once. Now, obviously, like, it's not being defeatist or anything, but it's just being realistic. Like, the goal isn't I'm going to go and win ADCC. And my first goal, when I've only been training for like 5 years, there's no defeatist attitude there. It's just being realistic. But it is very important for myself to remember that my goal isn't just like, oh, I remember that time I went to ADCC. I want, it's something that it's going to be great to go this year, and obviously I'm going to give it everything I've got, but I want to actually, be able to hang with these guys and do well and actually make a statement to myself. I'm especially for heavyweights, I've probably got another 10 years in front of me towards my prime, honestly, so I've got a lot more chances for sure.
Yeah, like you said, you mentioned before you'd had a match at Big Dan. That was in Grapple Fest.
Yep.
But that's now the step, isn't it? Going to the World Championships, facing guys like Big Dan, and hopefully getting to the place where you can beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that is 100% the goal.
So, another little note is that you're Scotland's first ever qualifier for the ADCC World Championships. So that's a nice accolade to have, and a good bit of inspiration for all the other Scottish grapplers that are coming through. So well done on that.
Thank you. No, yeah, I get it. So I was Scotland's first powerlifting world champion in IPF, and then first that. So yeah, that's quite cool. That's not bad.
Yeah, and I just want to take a minute as we're wrapping it up to just touch on what you've put in to get the level you're now at. Callum and I on our previous show were chatting about our experience of training with you. So Mark, originally from Glasgow, and has done most of his training through his time doing jiu-jitsu at MNBJJ under Marcos Nardini, but came up to uni for a couple of years in Aberdeen and spent some time when he was in Aberdeen training at SBG. And we were saying, though, it's when you were here, it wasn't just training with us. It was reaching out, finding where the great people were that you could access. You went up to SBG Murray and Elgin for their wrestling classes and got a lot from their wrestling coach, Nico, and guys like Kevin McAloon that are on the mat wrestling. You were going back down to Glasgow at weekends. I know in Glasgow you don't just limit yourself to like training at Marcos's. You'll go to places where you can get wrestling partners and put the work in. So I think at one point Callum suggested you were doing about 500 miles a week in your car going around train.
Genuinely, I would.
People, so
I would like drive. Yeah, probably even more. Like on a Monday, I would be in Aberdeen. On a Tuesday, I would drive up to Elgin, and then I'd drive home from Elgin, and then I'd drive to SBG in Aberdeen and train there, and then I'd go from there. I'd go to the gym, and then on a Wednesday, I would drive home to Glasgow. I worked out. It was something like I was training at like 6 or 7 different gyms every single week. At one point, I'd even drive. Even some Thursdays, I was driving through to. Is it Peterhead? Is that right?
Yeah,
Peterhead. Because Nico was going through there he was teaching a wrestling class through there, so I'd basically just follow Nico around the retro. I was probably doing like 500 to 600 miles every single week. But I think that's what you've got to do. I just think in my opinion, I think if you have a goal, it's just as simple as you just got to lay out what you've got to do, and you just got to do it. I do think for the majority of really high achievers in every aspect of life, I think the majority of them probably aren't actually as special as you think they are. I don't think they have something special. I think it is just a case of they're actually just willing to just sit down and be like, this is what I need to do, just crack on and do it. And whether you're tired or sore or unhappy, or it doesn't matter, regardless of how you feel, you just got to. Today's Tuesday, I've got to drive to Elgin, and then I've got to drive to SVG Aberdeen, and then I've got to go and lift weights. It's just the way it is.
I think that's one thing that you have taken into your grappling, that even although you're lesser experienced in the amount of years of actual grappling than some of the guys you go up against, you've already hit an elite level at one sport, and you know what it takes to get there. So you've applied that to your jiu-jitsu very quickly after realising that it wasn't just going to be a hobby for you.
Yeah, no, I absolutely ruined the hobby aspect. But no, that's it, because it's the same with powerlifting. The requirements for powerlifting are much less. Like the requirements are maybe a bit worse outside the gym with the amount of eating and stuff you've got to do. But it was the same with powerlifting. I was just like, this is what I've got to do. This is my day. I've got to do. And it's just the same for that. This is what I've got to do. And then you just got to crack on and do it. And I think that is honestly what separates, hitting goals and not. And I'm not saying, people at the top of a sport maybe aren't genetically gifted in some aspects, but I think people would be surprised if you're actually just willing to just be like, this is what I've got to do, and just doing it every single day, regardless of how you feel. I think people would be surprised at what they could actually, achieve.
And what's in the diary on the lead up to the Worlds now in Las Vegas? Have you got anything else planned, or are you just going to focus entirely on that?
Nothing like set in stone now, but I mean, for the last 2.5 years, I've pretty much been competing almost every single month. I've not, since September last year, I didn't compete till January, but that's because I couldn't, because of my leg. But then this year so far, I'm pumped in January, I had trials in February. Just crack on, keep doing what I'm doing, just keep active, and just try and get a competition every month.
All right, and then enjoy the rest of what Croatia has to offer you.
Thank you very much, and thanks to my girlfriend, very, very patiently sitting next to me.
Oh, hi, Rachel. This is going to be the life now, dealing with a superstar grappler. All these interviews and media requests.
We've already had people stopping us for photos as well in Croatia.
We got out of a taxi, and a guy went, "You won yesterday." I said, "Yes." She went, "Can I get a photo, please?" But Rachel is the unsung hero of a lot of this, with the amount of food I have to eat and be cooked for me. Eating steak at 2 a.m. and training 3-4 times a day, and bringing her along to all my sessions, and travelling to Croatia and cooking me and getting stuck in Croatia. So, yeah.
Well, good on you, Rachel. Your efforts have been worth it, I would say. Yeah. And it takes a village to raise a child, Mark? So
it does. It sure does. No, it does not. Genuinely, couldn't do it without her.
Awesome. Oh well, we'll catch up with you again before you head off to Vegas, no doubt, and see how your training's going, and all the best for any other matches that you end up doing before then.
Thanks very much, mate. And as well, thank you for all of your help over the last couple of years as well.
No problem.
Aberdeen, what a place.
Well, it was great to have you in the gym, and I learned a lot from training with you and seeing how you go about your business. So, and I'm glad all your dedication's paid off.
No, thank you very much, mate.